this video, I will be showing you how to program your system setup. Before doing so, please read your terms and conditions in the manual and make sure all your wires and power supply are installed properly. So with the system setup, it is the third option in the main menu where the user can set up the equipment at installation time as well as other miscellaneous operations. Under system setup, you do have the options of getting your system to be programmed under equipment setup, to save and restore, to location, advanced, and etc. Note that each of these subsections is described in detail in the following video. So first we'll start off by showing you how to set up your equipment, on how to set up channel 1 and do an initial setting on it by putting a name. Say for instance you want to do channel 1 to be your vent, or you want it to be the fan. So in order to be doing so what I want to do is get into details on how to set up your equipment. So first thing you want to do is hit the OK button, and then it's gonna go highlighted under system setup under 3. If it's not, all you have to do simply is press channel number 3 and it'll take you there, and then press OK. And then what we want to do is have it highlighted under equipment setup and then press OK again. So it'll take us to channel 1, 2, and 3. So channel 1 and 2 are going to be your open and close. So say for instance we want to make channel 1 our fan for open and close. So we're going to choose channel 1 and then we're going to hit OK. And then they do give you these settings for your timed override, weather override, initial settings, and assigned stage. First thing we're going to do is do the initial settings. We can worry about the other settings later. So you're going to hit option number 3 for under initial settings. Under initial settings, for channel 1, it's going to give you the set type and set name. So for now we're just going to do the set name. And then it's going to give you the option to choose what channel you want under there. So for channel 1, we already said we're going to do fan. So what you want to do is hit the back button to erase the channel 1 name. And then what we want to do is set it up as fan. So we're going to hit for F, and then we're going to hit OK. And then so once we have the initial name set up, we're going to hit the back button, and then what we want to do is set up our timed override. So the timed override is provided for the user to set up either the daily reoccurring event or one-time event. So we're going to hit the timed override. So what we want to do is have it enabled, which should be already done. And then what you want to do is hit the start time to start the override. And then you just start to choose what time you want that override to start. So in our initial settings we do have it at 12:27 p.m. So you would choose to set the hour for the minutes, and then this one chooses the AM PM, what time you want it to start, and then you would just hit OK, and then you're going to hit the back button. And then what we want to do is do the override duration, and it can be set using this in the screen shown. Button 1 through 3 can be used to highlight the given field of and the wheel can also be used to modify, increment and decrement by highlighting the field. So for duration, you're going to hit the duration and set up the time. So basically for duration is a set point when you want the fan to start. So say once you have it at a set point of a temperature, for example 80 degrees, once it hits 80 degrees, you want to set up how many seconds or minutes you want the fan to open up. The temperature drops to 80 degrees and below. Within those 10 seconds duration time, it'll close. So that's what the option for the override duration is for. So you can do that by setting it up. So we don't want to do it by hour. Let's just do it by minute by minute. So just use the wheel to set that up. and then you would hit OK. So this would be your initial settings for that. So when setting up your general type, typically the general type equipments are on and off, vent, curtain, and alarm. For on and off, it refers to any piece of equipment that turns on and off. So we're going to press OK, and we know that our fans are for on and off because that's what we want to set them on. Is when it starts at a certain temperature, we want the fans to come on, and when it drops a certain temperature, we want the fans to go off. We're going to hit option number 1. So by default, all equipment are marked as on and off device. If that type has already been chosen, surrounded by parentheses, is selected again, we get this prompt. In order to change the type to some other type, like from on, off to vent, as shown in the figure, we get a warning pop-up as shown. So vents are required 2 consecutive outputs channels, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. The first channel, odd numbers, must be wired to open vent, and the other even numbered is to close out. So in the settings for the open to close time and override under the vents, the vent open close time is the time in minutes and seconds that takes for the vent to go from full close to full open position and vice versa. Selecting the set open close duration, the following screen comes up. The screen enables to set the open close duration, so buttons 2, 3, and 4 are used to highlight those fields. Open to close, and then it's going to take us to equipment vent settings, and then what we want to do is choose the open to close duration, which is here, and then this will actually set up your duration time on when you want it to open and close in between those, as I described earlier. The setup overrides, and then you're going to hit OK, and this will give you the option for rain, wind, and temperature outside. So these overrides are important for safe and effective vent operations. So note that the weather station or some of its core components need to be installed to set up these overrides. So for rain vent open limit, this is the maximum position the vent can be open with the rain is detected. The value can be changed by selecting option number 1. As you can see, it's on option number 1, and then you're going to hit OK. And then what we want to do is set the time vent open limit. So say for instance every 2 minutes you want the vent to open up 25%, and then you have those in those cooling stages 1 through 6. So in between those cooling stages, you're going to have to, put the option. If you want it to open from those cooling stages 100%, just mark them all 100%. But if you want to do it by every 5-10 minutes for it to open up at a certain percentages, you can do that. So for now, we're just going to put for every 10 minutes as what we had for our duration. We want the unit to open up 20%. So we're going to use the wheel to guide us there. So once that's set up, we're going to hit OK, and then we're going to hit the back button again, and then we're going to do for wind. For the wind, you have options to do it by setup for it to trigger to close the vent if it triggers it at a certain speed of the wind. So for now we have it set up at 15 miles per hour for the vent to close if the winds are at that speed. And this is how you initiate your equipment settings.